guys, welcome to the best Cyberse deck profile ever. This is just an amazing deck, I just can't lose with it and I figure I might as well share it with you guys. So to start off right off with monsters, we are playing 3 copies of Cyberse Wizard. It's an 1800 beat stick, and once per turn you can change face-up attack position monster your opponent controls to defense, and if you do for the rest of this turn, your monsters can't attack, except to attack that monster. However, all your Cyberse monsters that attack a defense position monster gets to inflict piercing damage to your opponent, so that's definitely really nice, isn't it? So set that aside, and next we have 2 copies of Simtablia. So Simtablia is you can reveal this card from your hand and target a level 4 Cyberse monster in your graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand to zone a linked link monster you control points to, and if you do, return the targeted monster to your hand. You can only use this effect of Simtablia once per turn. It's a level 5 monster, so most of the time you want to actually use his special summon effect, but even so, it's really good. We have 2 copies of Flick Clown, so basically with Cyberse you usually run out of cards in your hand anyway, so as long as you have 2 other Cyberse monsters and himself on the field, and you have no cards in your hand, you can pay 1,000 life points and draw a card. You can only use this once per turn, but you get to draw 1 card. So that's 1 extra card. It's just really amazing. Then we are playing 1 copy of Defect Compiler. Once per turn, if you would take damage from an opponent's card effect, place 1 defect counter on this card instead. Once per turn, as a quick effect, you can remove the defect counter from this card. Then 1 Cyberse monster you control gets 800 attack until the end of the turn. It's quite nice, isn't it? Just to boost it up by 800, get over those big monsters that your opponent controls. Moving on, we are playing 1 copy of Cluster Congester. Yeah, the big level might be a little difficult to bring him out, but if he is summoned in anyway, and you control no link monsters, you can special summon a token. So that can only be used once per turn, but even so it's pretty nice. And once per battle step, if a link monster you control is attacked, as a quick effect you can banish this card from your grave and that link monster and special summon tokens up to the number of link monsters your opponent controls. Very situational, but it's still worth playing. We're playing 1 copy of Striping Panda, so this card requires pretty much your opponent to destroy one of your monsters by card effect for it to actually be able to be special summoned, because it can't be normal summoned or set. That means its effect is actually really amazing. Basically, when this card is special summoned, you can target a level 4 lower Cyberse monster in your graveyard and special summon it. This can only be used once per turn. It's pretty good, isn't it? Playing 2 copies of Lockout Gardener. This card's just really amazing. If your opponent declares a direct attack, you can special summon this card from your hand in attack position. If you do, it can't be destroyed by battle this turn. And when an effect of a monster your opponent controls is activated that targets a Cyberse monster you control and no other cards, as a quick effect you can negate the effects of both that Cyberse monster you control and that opponent's monster until the end of the turn. So not a bad card at all. Playing 1 copy of Capacitor Stalker. When this card is normal summoned, you can target 1 other Cyberse monster you control and make that monster gain 800 attack. If this card in the monster zone is destroyed by a card effect, both players take 800 damage, so it brings your opponent just closer to actually losing the game. Of course, you lose it as well, but overall, this deck is just so amazing anyway. Your opponent's going to be losing life points really quickly. Playing Datacorn here. Basically this card, if it's special summon, you get a token, so just generating more link materials here. We're also playing 1 Backlinker. If your opponent controls, if only your opponent controls a monster in the extra monster zone, you can special summon this card from your hand, and then you can tribute this card and shuffle all monsters from the extra monster zones to the deck. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, so a little bit of a downside, but you get to get rid of your opponent's monsters instead. We're playing 2 copies of Text Changer here. Once per turn, when your monster is targeted for an attack, you can negate that attack, and then you can special summon a Cyberse normal monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. It's just really amazing. And that means we'll need a normal monster. We're going to be playing the best Cyberse normal monster out there, and it's called Leotron. It has 2000 attack, so it's going to be very difficult to, get over by your opponents, and since it can be special summoned through text changing effects, I think it's definitely well worth playing. We're also playing a Launcher Commander. All other Cyberse monsters gain 300 attack and defense, get over those big monsters, and you can tribute a Cyberse monster once per turn to target a face-up monster your opponent controls and destroy it. It's also a 1700 beat stick. Garbage Collector, you can target one other Cyberse monster you control that began in the duel in the main deck, return it to the hand. If you do, special summon from your deck one Cyberse monster of the same level, with a different name. You can only use this effect once per turn. Next, we are playing Storm Cypher. Cannot attack directly or attack monsters in the extra monster zone, and it's unaffected by monster effects activated in the extra monster zone. It can't be destroyed by battle with monsters in the extra monster zone, so that's pretty good, isn't it? But for some reason, it just can't attack directly. What's with the restriction? Well, it has 2400 attacks, so it's just really good. We're playing one copy of Antilion. Antillion's a really great card because once per turn, if this card battled a monster this battle phase, as a quick effect, you can immediately, after this effect resolves, normal summon a Cyberse monster. If this face-up card you control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can draw one card. It's also a 1900 beat stick. We're playing one copy of Backup Operator. Just target a face-up monster that a link monster you control points to, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, return that monster to the hand. If special summoned this way, banish this card when it leaves the field. Lastly, we're playing two copies of Client or Client. While this normal summon set card is face up on the field, all Cyberse monsters you control gain 500 attack and defense during your turn only. If this card on the field will be destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can destroy a Cyberse monster in your hand or face up on your field instead. So basically with this, we're focusing on actually boosting our monster's attack to get over our opponent's big monsters. This is definitely really amazing, but right off the bat there, that's pretty much all of the monsters. So let's move on to the spells and set them aside. So right off, we have two copies of Cynet Universe. This is a really amazing field spell. All link monster you control gain 300 attack. Once per turn, you can target a monster in your graveyard and shuffle it back into the deck. If this card in the field is destroyed by a card effect, send all monsters in the extra monster zones to the graveyard. So it's really amazing. Playing two copies of Fire Prison. All dragon monsters on the field gain 300 defense. If any link monsters are on the field, neither player can link summon a link monster with a lower link rating than the highest link rating on the field. Monsters cannot attack except link monsters. Apply the following effects while two or more Cyberse link monsters are on the field. One of them is negate the activated effects of Cyberse monsters, and the second one is Cyberse monsters cannot attack, cannot be targeted for attacks, and cannot be targeted by card effects. So it pretty much protects your Cyberse monsters out there, and it also just requires both players to actually attack with just one monster at a time. So it's definitely really nice, and you get to lock your opponents out as well. Playing two copies of Cyberse or Cyclone, this is a really amazing card. You can target a link monster your opponent controls, banish it from your graveyard, a link monster that has the same link rating, and if you do, you destroy that monster. Then if the original type of that monster you banished was a Cyberse, you can destroy one face-up card in your opponent's spell and trap as well. There's so many field spells anyway, so you might as well go for that. To end things off with spells, we're playing two security block because your monsters just need a bit of defense and protection there. Traps, we're playing one copy of Packet Link. During your main phase 2, special summon any number of level 2 or lower monsters with different names from your hand, deck or grave to zones a link monster points to. You can only activate one Packet Link per turn. We're also playing two copies of Cynet Regression. If you special summon a link monster, target one card on the field, destroy it, and then draw one card. So it's really amazing. We are also playing Cynet Refresh here. I don't think I need to go over this card because it's just so amazing. And things off, we're playing two copies of Parallel Plot Armor. Target a link monster you control, equip it with this card. Your opponent cannot target the equipped monster with card effects. Also, it cannot be destroyed by battle. You can banish this card and two link monsters from your grave, and then target one link monster you control. It can make a second attack during the battle phase. With all your monsters gaining a bunch of attack points and everything, I think it's just really amazing, don't you think? Allowing it to attack twice as well, this is just really good. So putting aside the main deck, let's move on to the extra deck. The extra deck is just really small anyway, because you know what? We don't even need the extra deck. The main deck's so good, but either way, we have a few cards that are definitely well worth playing. We're playing a Traffic Ghost. It requires 3 monsters and it has 1800 attack, and all 3 of its zones are pointing down, so it works well with Packet Link. We're also playing a Recovery Sorcerer. I just think it's a really good card here because as a quick effect, you can target a Cyberse Link monster in your graveyard that was destroyed this turn, special summon it, but it has its effects negated, also destroyed during the end phase, but doesn't matter, you can just use that one for a Link summon. Playing a Restoration Point Guard. Once per turn, if another Link monster is Link summoned, this card cannot be destroyed by battle card effects for the rest of the turn. If a Link monster that was Link summoned using this card as material is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. And of course these cards have to be used once per turn because its effects are just so strong. Space Insulator. Monster this card points to loses 800 attack and defense. I think that's the most important part of it, because if you put it on a zone pointing to your opponent's monster, it loses 800 attack. Meanwhile, you have all these big monsters with boosted attacks and it will win. A Pentastag. This card's really amazing. If your linked monster attacks a defense position monster, then you can inflict piercing damage as well. That's just really amazing. We are also playing a Link Bumper just because I think it's a really amazing card, and we are also playing 1 copy of Secure Gardener, but that's pretty much it for the rest of this deck. We don't even need any cards in the extra deck because this Cyberse deck is just so amazing. It just has a bunch of beat sticks, and it just has a bunch of effects that allow you to gain attacks, gain additional attacks as well. It's just really amazing, but you know what, just give this deck a try, bring it to a YCS or something, it will beat every single deck. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you next time. Hey, so if you guys actually made it all the way to the end of this video, then well, April Fools, because this deck is pretty much just an awful deck I just put together randomly. To be honest, I really just wanted to go over a bunch of Cyberse cards that were really not played and not recognized by people, you know. Most Cyberse players play a typical build of Cyberse, and these are the cards that are kind of like the forgotten Cyberse cards, and I just pretty much wanted to make this video to showcase a lot of these cards that were just put aside by Cyberse players. So, you know, at the same time, I was able to make a really funny deck profile out of this as well, and give you guys a bit of a fun joke here. So yeah, hope you guys actually enjoyed this video and found it more humorous rather than annoying, but in the meantime, hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you next time.